How would you feel if I told you there was a critical ingredient that we're now more reliant on Russia for than we were before the invasion? When I say we, I mean Europe in general. Look at this, though, OK? Start with a bit of good news. This is wholesale gas prices. These, by the way, are not the prices we pay at home. The prices we pay at home are going up because of the price cap. But actually, the wholesale gas price has just started to come down quite a lot, 22% in the past fortnight. It might mean that bills might be more cheap in the future. But why is that happening? It's because people are looking at what's happening, thinking of potential peace talks and thinking that might push gas prices down because you've got more gas potentially going into Europe. And there hasn't been enough gas in Europe in recent months. And that's partly because there is not as much gas coming from Russia. This is showing you just the proportion of European gas, so EU gas coming from Russia. It used to be above 50%. It's come down an awful lot. Worth saying, if you include liquefied natural gas, it doesn't look like quite so much of a fall. But even so, less gas in Europe from Russia. And that's a bit of an issue because if you look at all of the different kind of uses that gas plays in the economy in Europe, well, it's quite a lot of stuff, you know. It's transport, but it's also residential. So all those homes, it's heating the homes, it's going into power stations, but also it's going into industry, OK? So it's getting the factories working, it's producing chemicals. And when it comes to chemicals, one of the most important chemicals is fertiliser. And most nitrogen fertiliser is made from gas. It's a fossil fuel product. But because that gas is so expensive, not as much of it is being made in Europe, raising the question, where does it come from? Well, in the past, a lot of it came from Russia. And just look at what's happened with our European dependence on fertiliser from Russia. That has come down a bit, but whereas iron and steel is much lower than it was before, fertiliser, it's actually relatively high. And if we look not just at the share, but at the total amount, have a look at this chart, OK? So this is the total amount of nitrogen fertiliser, the most important type of fertiliser, coming from Russia, just in volume terms. And compare these two areas. So back 2018-19, best period to compare things to, because obviously that was the pandemic then. 2018-19, over that period, 4.6 million tonnes. Now look at the last 2 years, 4.9 million tonnes. So Europe is importing more fertiliser now from Russia than it was before the invasion. It's kind of striking, isn't it? And actually, if you look at where fertiliser, all types of fertiliser come from into Europe, it's pretty clear, isn't it? It's Russia. That was before the invasion. Now look, after the invasion, does anything change? Does the red bar change? Actually, the red bar goes up a bit. Really striking, isn't it? Worth saying, though, there is one country which doesn't have quite the same issue. It's the UK, because we've banned the import of Russian and Belarusian fertiliser. So that's gone down basically to zero. And where's our fertiliser coming from? It's coming from the United States instead. But across Europe as a whole, that dependence on Russian fertiliser is actually going up, not down.